EA's Star Wars Battlefront 2 2017 is currently my favorite game in 2024. I've played a lot of games this year: Pale World, Starfield, Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, Tears of the Kingdom, and yet this little indie game made by this tiny indie studio called DICE still remains as my favorite game. And apparently, I'm not the only one. But why? Why have brand new videos been popping up all over this year about a game that's about 7 years old now? Everyone you ask will probably say replayability. The online servers are still active and people can use mods online. And while I would say the same thing, I think my answer is a bit different from what everyone else is saying. I come back to this game time after time because of its single-player replayability. When EA's Star Wars Battlefront 2 first released in 2017, it only had a campaign mode and lackluster arcade mode. Over time, the developers added a Starfighter game mode and then instant action, which included large-scale objective-based modes. But since official developer support for the game ended in 2020, the game has actually gotten more offline single-player modes thanks to the incredible modding community for Star Wars Battlefront. In 2015, I started an entire campaign to get the multiplayer game modes from EA's Battlefront 2015 to offline single-player. With success, we were granted the flagship mode for that game called Walker Assault. In 2017, I continued the campaign to get large-scale game modes playable for offline, as they had not been present upon release. 3 years later, we received Supremacy, Missions Attack, and Missions Defend. Now, here in 2024, with the help of modders, we can now play the multiplayer game modes Galactic Assault, Starfighter Assault, Cargo, Strike, Extraction, Heroes vs. Villains, and Blast, all offline and single player. A literal dream come true for many players, including myself. I never understood EA's or DICE's direction to make Star Wars Battlefront a multiplayer focused game. I mean, to be fair, it's because of the single player modes and mods that players still go back to the classic Battlefront games today. Now the same can be said about EA's Battlefront 2. Despite all the controversy about loot boxes, corporate greed, and all the other bad things that were once said about EA's Star Wars Battlefront 2, it was a game that did a complete 180 and went from one of the most hated games of all time to one of the best games ever conceived. From the gameplay, to the multi-layered levels of immersion, to the beautifully crafted environments, EA's Star Wars Battlefront 2 is honestly the best Star Wars game I have ever played. I'm not saying it's perfect, but really, what game is objectively? Perfection is, in my opinion, subjective, and that's why Battlefront 2 is awfully close to perfection to me, especially with all the mods you can add. Speaking of mods, they are the sole reason we can play the online game modes like Galactic Assault and Starfighter Assault in single player. I never thought I'd be living in the good timeline where I could storm the palace on Naboo with an AI-controlled team, or assist in an epic mission within the vast array of space to blow up a super star destroyer. I never thought I'd be able to relive the Battle of Kessel as the rebels work together to extract the coaxium off the planet. I never thought I'd be a part of a small squadron that infiltrates and steals valuable information off the Death Star 2. I never thought I'd crash into the Death Star 2 and blow it up with the help of my bot buddies. I never thought I'd be able to experience the level of immersion the multiplayer got for the game offline and single player. The new game modes that have been ported over from the multiplayer to single player has breathed new air into the game, and I highly recommend checking it out. While you can already play most of the multiplayer maps in single player, there's something about doing different objectives on these maps that really change things up from what you're probably used to playing in Battlefront 2. Like assisting the Walker on Endor as the rebels somehow feels so much different than just capturing command posts on Endor in order to progress. The same goes with the smaller objective-based game modes too. Extracting goods out of Jabba's palace feels like an untold scenario in the magical world of Star Wars, or stealing an important artifact from Maz's castle as the First Order that could potentially play a huge role in the ever-growing war across the galaxy. The little game modes from multiplayer added to single player just creates endless scenarios. In 2024, you can really live out those Star Wars battle fantasies you had as a kid, or even imagine when the game was first revealed and your imagination ran as wild as a Jawa in a downed Star Destroyer. These mods that have been added since the end of the official developer support for the game give you more control over your experience. You want the rebels to take on the Empire on Geonosis? It can be done. You want the clones to take their final stand against stormtroopers on Kamino? That can also be done. Any kind of scenario that you can think of in the world of Star Wars, it generally can be done in EA Star Wars Battlefront 2. With mods in 2024, you can really craft your own Star Wars experience, which in my opinion should have been the direction of the game from the start, but I digress. If you haven't played EA's Star Wars Battlefront 2, or have been away from the game for quite some time, I highly recommend booting it up on your computer and installing some of these mods. I promise your experience with the game will be vastly different and a lot more fun and exciting than what you remembered. I'll leave a link down in the description below for some awesome mods to check out. Unfortunately, I'm not really an expert in modding, so if something doesn't work or you need troubleshooting, I won't be able to help you out as much, but the community on Nexus or some of the modders on Discord should be able to help you with issues that you might have. But I think it's mostly easy enough to navigate and figure out yourself. Anyway, let's talk about all things Star Wars Battlefront down in the comments. Guys, I really miss this game and the community we built here through Soloplayersmatter and this channel. Covering Battlefront was a pretty fun time in my life, and I'd do it all over again if Battlefront 3 was ever announced. In the meantime, I'll stay hyped for Star Wars Outlaws, which looks like it'll be an incredible game. But anyway, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe for more videos like this in the future. You guys stay safe out there, and until then, I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.